Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us for our 8th Urban AI conversation. My name is Hubert and I'm the founder of Urban AI. So what is Urban AI? Urban AI is a think tank that federates a global community of pioneers in the emerging field of urban artificial intelligence. And together, we try to propose ethical modes of governance and sustainable uses of urban artificial intelligence. But Urban AI is also a space for exchange and debate, and this is why we organize regularly these Urban AI conversations. So the goal of this Urban AI conversation is that some members of the community can present you their latest solutions, research, or even ideas related to the field of urban artificial intelligence. And together, we have the great pleasure to have with us Samah El Khateeb and Mennatullah Hendawy. So Samah, you lead the Smart and Future Cities Lab Laboratory for Sustainable Urban Solution at Cairo. You're also a contributor and advisor at Urban AI, and you are the principal investigator of the Cairo Charter project. And you are going to tell us more about this very interesting topic. And Mennatullah Hendawy, you are a research associate and PhD candidate at the chair of urban design at the Berlin Institute of Technology. And you're also a visiting researcher at the Leibniz Institute for Researcher on Society and Space. And maybe you also have a new position now, or a new role.
Yes, I'm currently in the US.
Okay. And so as usual, we will have 20-25 minutes of presentation from Samah and Mennatullah. Then we will have a Q&A session. So if you have a question in mind, you can use the chat to ask your question, or you can wait for the end of the session. And yes, so Samah and Mennatullah, the floor is yours.
Yes.
Okay, Minna, I will share the screen.
Yes. Yes. So we are very actually excited and happy to share our work as we are concluding the project of Cairo Charter. It's a framework for social and environmental justice where we focus on the use of artificial intelligence for building more sustainable and equitable cities. We're going today, next slide, please. We're going today to share about the project itself, the timeline of the project, the main findings, but also more about the team. We are an interdisciplinary team of urban planners, but also geoscientists and urban sociologists and anthropologists. And we're going to share more about our next projects. And actually, it is the first time that we're going to share this publicly today. So to start with the project, before we start with the project, we'd like to share more about what is the issue that we were trying to tackle by proposing this project in 2020 to Facebook to fund it. We are basically interested in how AI can be used in urban context or in cities, and that urban AI can and should be a tool for environmental and social justice, as well as technological transformation, but not only looking at it from a very technical perspective, but rather trying to see it from a more socio-technical and polytechnical perspective. We also postulate that urban AI is used not just as a tool, but more as a rationale for planning and implementing spatial justice and data justice and social justice in cities. And we understand that urban AI is an ecosystem that shape this kind of social, ecological, and technological developments to be more inclusive and habitable. In our project, next slide, please. So in the project, we proposed to look at, it was a call for proposals that focused on the use of AI for ethics in AI. We focused in our proposal to look at urban AI for equitable and sustainable cities. And the project was funded by Facebook Research until last December, between December 2020 and December 2021, in cooperation with the HSRC in South Africa, the Human Science Research Council. So we proposed the project named Cairo Charter. The Cairo Charter is a framework for social environmental justice-driven AI for smart cities. And we contextualized the project within the Smart African Cities, the current visions and planning for in Africa, but also beyond. We will come to this later when we share our findings. And we had three main questions that we tried to tackle through different workshops and a design sprint. So how can AI play a role in enabling smart cities in Africa to be more not only technologically equipped, but also ecologically sustainable and environmentally and socially just? How might AI applications across scales support and be accountable for environmental justice and social equity? And what guiding principles can support planners or regulators and policymakers in doing this work? We built the main idea of the Cairo Charter on the Athens Charter, so maybe the architects here would know about it. The Athens Charter was proposed in 1933 by Sayem as a kind of a post-speculative document that looks at modernity and cities and architecture within a modernist time. So we try at this moment to produce the Cairo Charter with kind of the same logic, but try to also look at it beyond Cairo in Africa and also worldwide, because we view the current world as a more mediatized, from a mediatized world perspective. So we are a very interdisciplinary team. To urban planners, we usually had a lot of discussions within the team between the four of us. Where do we situate ourselves? I guess Dr. Samah and I are more kind of in the middle, not very technical, not very social, but we also have Stephanie bringing in more the human-computer interaction side, and Catherine from Belgium bringing more the perspective of anthropology and looking at smartness from below. We also have a lot of contributors who were part of our workshops and research assistants, and we're very happy to have really a kind of a majority female-led team. So what is the Cairo Urban AI Charter? As I mentioned, it builds on the idea of the Athens Charter, develops a series of principles or protocols for ecological and social justice-driven AI for cities, and articulates a course of urban AI for Cairo in the digital world. As I mentioned, from a more general perspective, the city level, we're going to speak more about the specific context of Cairo and how we see it kind of generalizable. When is it generalizable and when is it more unique? We also studied the prevailing conditions of the different cities and try to create a critical examination and propose different measures for the future. And within this context, we look at urban AI futures in Cairo and beyond. Our main goal was to look at what should urban AI do, what can people do with urban AI, what do people want urban AI to do, and what shouldn't urban AI do. So we try to look at it from a pragmatic perspective, but also from a social perspective. So the charter is basically looking forward to articulate possibilities for urban AI, explore potentials for linking it with social and environmental responsibilities within an urban world, maximizing the willingness to use AI, but not from a human perspective, raising a lot of questions within this context in relation to public data, the access to data, digital literacy, and so on. So what was the plan for co-creating the Cairo Charter? It was important for us to create a kind of a different moments of co-creation or co-construction. We developed this through different online and offline workshops and also a designathon throughout the past year. And currently we are kind of finalizing the document for the Cairo Charter. We're going today for the first time to share some of the remarks and main findings of the project. And we look forward to share it. If anyone is interested, you can share your emails, maybe with us, or Herbert can also share with us the list of attendees. So Cairo and beyond, Dr. Samah is going to present more about the local context of Cairo and how it is comparable or not within the context of a digitalized world.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Menna, for your presentation. I will talk now about Cairo and beyond. Actually, if we talk about the current status of Cairo, as you know, Egypt is ranked at the 16th most populated country in the globe, with almost 102 million inhabitants in 2021. And actually, as you see, the majority of the population are concentrated in the Nile Valley and leaving most of the desert empty. And actually, if we focus more on Cairo, actually it ranked the 37 in the highest population density in the worldwide, by estimated population reaching 19 million by 2021. Like all this high population have negative adverse consequences on the social and environmental justice for human and inhabitant there. And all this population and concentrated population make the government in all previous years thinking of the reallocating of Cairo residents. Starting from the 70s, there was many trials to have a new cities adjacent to Cairo city to attract people to live there. What's the status now? The status now that Egypt planned from 2015 to have 20 new smart cities to improve the quality of life for the Egyptians. And actually, we had previously 3 generations. We have the first, second, and third, and the 3 of them wasn't. Government is planning to have to accommodate almost 30 million people in this new cities with new opportunities for jobs and economic development. The most known and well-known city is the new capital or the new administrative city. Parallel to this booming in having these new cities or new smart cities, there is another booming in having a new energy to upgrade the power generation capacity and to work and they have collaboration with Siemens and other big companies to have wind power plants and other combined cycle power plants to accommodate new planned cities in the future. So talking a little bit about Egypt new capital, actually it's located, as you see, east to the Cairo or Cairo city, and actually it's really connected the old city with another horizon with the Suez city and Ain Sokhna, and actually most of the governmental bodies are reallocated there, building a new hub for economy and business and residential district there. Here is just to imagine to compare the new capital with one of the existing cities, with this the new Cairo city. Actually, the new capital is planned to accommodate almost 6 million people, and actually it will have many districts, as you see, building on a green river in the middle of it, with very business district in the middle, accommodating international and international companies and offices. So knowing some facts about the new capital city, it will accommodate 7 million people. It will be the biggest of everything in the world in Africa. It will have the tallest tower in Africa, the biggest mosque in Africa, the largest church. It will have the Central Park, twice as long as New York and 3 times bigger than Hyde Park. So it's really a huge development and a huge smart city. The new capital city is, in talking about the governance of the city, it's a collaboration between the government and the administrative capital of urban development. So it's 50% sharing from the private sector, which is private company, and the government as well. They started working in it from 2016, and now they really accomplished many projects there. There is the photos for what will be the city look like in the future, and here is the existing situation there. They will connect the new city, the new capital city, with monorail, with high-speed train. We also have many residential cities. We have the sports city, the conferences. Many uses will be allocated there, and will be the spot for culture, for culture, administration, and many facilities will be there. The smart city model in the new capital is building on having secured smart infrastructure, informational and spatial database, human component, all of this formulating the Egyptian model of having the first smart city. They will have some sectors where they will develop the smart city features, especially in the waste management, the smart parking, the smart card, electronic communication services with citizens, the smart buildings, and transportation management. To understand the challenge that we were talking about years, there was this Cairo, and there was new cities adjacent to the old city. And the situation now that we are really having another big agglomeration attached to the existing agglomeration, where we are planning to have by 2035 million people will be living here, and also you will having 25 million people will live by 2030 in the old existing agglomeration. So we are talking about total of 30 million will be there by 2030, which is real services for all of people, the social and the environmental justice for all. So to look more in detail, we will have this two spots. We will have the new capital city. They are planning to have all of these smart interactions, and in addition to thinking of the share of the people of the open space and green area. And also we have the existing Cairo, where we have this situation of class. We have different social and environmental issues already existing in the current agglomeration. So the challenge, how we see it, we see that we are building. We have two Cairo now. We have the existing Cairo, the planned and the unplanned area, and we have the new capital city. And of course, if a big new agglomeration that will be in 2030, we need to have a guideline or charter to govern what will happen in the future. For example, talking about the quality of life or green spaces, we can see that even the share of people, the share of open spaces or green areas, if we divide it all over the districts in Cairo, we can see less than 0.5 meter per person or per capita in some districts, and it reached more than 5.5 in some districts. For like Nozha, like Nasr City, it's really reaching 5 meters square or 6 meters square, and in other area it's really less than 1. So all of this create what we call environmental environmental justice not are the same in the same district and in the area. And if we adding the new capital city, where we are planning to have the new green corridor there, and the share of the green area per capita will be about reach 10 meters square to 20 meters square. All of this will really impact the quality of life for the Egyptians. Talking about the situation in Africa, when we were discussed with our colleagues in Africa as well, we know that many cities in many countries in Africa are planned also or working already to have their new smart cities, like in Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, and Ghana. And actually, because of the Africa is, we can say it's have the similar situation like Cairo regarding the impressive urban growth and the growth in the population. So it's like that you are attracting the current population from the old agglomeration and old cities to live in this new cities as well. And one of this example, like the Eco Atlantic in Nigeria, and it will be when we compare the photos of this new city with the new administrative capital or new capital in Cairo, we saw that they are having some really similar features, even in the urban and architecture form. Okay, so I think, Menna, you will complete from here.
Yes, so going back to the Cairo Charter, and within this context of Cairo, Africa, and beyond, we're going to share the findings of project. First of all, we succeeded in building a network for urban AI experts who work either computer scientists interested in urban issues or urban planners interested in computer science and computational social sciences. So in the charter, we came to realization that smart cities need to be looked at from a wide spectrum. It's not totally looking at it from a top-down perspective. Neither is it the need to look at it from a completely below perspective, like the smartness from below movement. But rather, we propose to look at smart cities from a more of a semi-smart cities perspective, trying to see the intersection and how to use really technology for creating more equitable and sustainable cities. We also realized that in order to kind of study justice or equity and sustainability within this context, there need to be a new perspective in which we look at the aspects of justice, not only social justice, environmental justice, and even not the intersections or the gray area between them, like the socio-cultural aspects, socio-technical aspects, but also to look at it from a more holistic perspective that integrates social, environmental, and technology aspects. And for this, we postulate that there need to be, yes, next slide, please. That there need to be a hybrid justice model for looking at cities within the digitally, not only artificial human world in a way. So we're interested to look at the agency of using technologies and tools in order to, within this context, to enable and to create more equitable cities. Another point that we are discussing in the charter is the importance of looking at AI from an inclusive perspective, inclusive in terms of the humans involved in the productions of these technology systems, but also in terms of the purposes of the AI systems that are to be implemented. Also within this context, we look at public data, and the urban AI challenge, and which raises a lot of questions with regard to urban AI challenges, like who is in control, who has access to the data, what does it know, what doesn't it actually know or can do or cannot do, and who benefits at the end of the day. So we look at public data from a more kind of thinking of it from ownership perspective, but also from digital literacy and data literacy perspective, and trying to discuss points in relation to nations which has limited data access. Currently, we're working on a paper with this viewpoint of semi-smart, like data in semi-smart cities. So how ready is Cairo for digitalization? This can give you a just general overview. And the most important of all is that Egypt has actually risen from the 55th place of the government Artificial Intelligence Readiness Index to 56th position and over in 2019. So for the first time, we would like to mention publicly and launch our next projects. The first one is a collaboration with the African Cities Lab and the Swiss government. We are creating currently an urban AI MOOC for inspiring smart action for African cities. If anyone is interested to provide an input to be part of this MOOC, please feel free to reach out. We also just received another funding from the British Council to participate in COP27, which is going to take place in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt next November. And we are participating with a project creating a climate podcast within the context of looking at AI and climate numeracy as a narrative for urban resilience. So thank you very much. We look forward to the discussion and the questions.
Thanks a lot, Samah and Mennatullah, for this very interesting presentation. Thanks also for choosing this Urban AI conversation to make this new announcement. Thanks. And so if you have questions, you can ask in the chat, or you can directly open your camera and your micro. Actually, Samah and Mennatullah, I have one question, because during your presentation, you explained the importance of education that we have to involve citizens. And if I was wondering if you already have such projects in Cairo where citizens, people are involved in urban AI projects.
I can answer this. So actually, currently, the type of participation from people in the urban development project, it's like a participatory sessions only, not to deploy the urban AI within the framework of urban planning or urban development. So what we did in one of the workshops, that we already invited one of the represented from Cairo Governorate, and actually he mentioned that we need a capacity building for and actually he told us that currently the development that they did, I'm talking about the municipalities only, not the level of the planning, because actually we have the municipality level, and also we have the level of the Ministry of Housing, and then the General Organization for Fiscal Planning, where they are doing the whole plans. They are now everything now is happening through the GIS and everything from years ago, but employing the urban AI as a tool to make the plans or the development plans, it's yet anew in the Egyptian context. And actually, we are happy that we were one of the, we can say that our project were one of the first project that I can say the first project even in Cairo to talk about how we can implement urban AI. There was talking about there was the idea of smart city is existing from 2015. Many papers talked about the smart cities, but I'm talking the terminology urban AI, how we really tried to introduce it to the academia and the practitioners and all of this. So that's why we made several workshops virtually and one-to-one and inside to talk about the urban AI, the challenges, because actually knowing the challenges, knowing what the issue of the security of the data, the availability of the data, who are controlling everything, was very important to hear it from other practitioners and companies. We have many projects, but we can call it private project or initiatives, and even through the university to imply the artificial intelligence, of course, in many mobile applications and all of this. But if we talk about certainly the urban AI, till now it's in the face of the research projects and the academics work. And Menna, if you would like to.
No, I guess it's full answer.
Okay, thanks, Samah. We have also a question from George, I don't know how we say it, who is asking like how to improve the equity of income and living in Egypt. Is your bet urban development?
Is it written? I didn't hear well, maybe the internet.
Yes, in the chat.
How to improve the equity of income and living in Egypt. Okay.
Samah, let me ask you in the following thing, in the following way. Latin America and Africa has similar problems. We lack of equity. Many people live in poor countries and have neighborhoods that are very rich, but also neighborhoods that are very poor. And you cannot change that in 2 generations. How can you make that change in time faster?
I hope that I got your question right, and I will try to answer this. What I understood that you are talking about, we have this existing situation that we have the poor communities and we have the rich communities, and how can we change this, right?
Yes. How can diminish the gap?
Okay, actually, if I will talk about from the Egyptian perspective, I can talk about the efforts done by the government. We have already huge efforts done by the government to at least reach to all poor communities and upgrade the areas. I will talk about one of the huge projects which is called Better Life, or it's in Arabic, Haya Karima. It's a project sponsored from the government, and it's a very big project to put services in countryside area, because actually we have a huge problem. We keep talking our studies on Cairo, but actually Egypt is not Cairo. We have other cities in Cairo, and especially other cities, they suffered for many years from the lack of infrastructure, the main infrastructure. If you are talking about that, we hope to have smart cities, but exist agglomeration in this existing cities have some problem in the infrastructure, the sewage, the water supply. So this huge program started last year, and actually it's aimed to serve almost 500 villages in Egypt, and to supply them with the infrastructure. Not only this, because actually you are talking about improving the whole life. So they are talking about improving the residential units. They can support them with some vacancies, some jobs. So this is for the countryside. So there is a huge effort, and this project is really depending on going to the site on spot and having and decide to the area of work. Also, we have some other international bodies that's working in Egypt from different years. I can see like the GIZ, may example, and other entities. They worked for years in an unplanned area. I will not say that the issue now is solved, because I will not be very honest, but till now we can say that previously we had this situation that we have unsafe area and unplanned area. Currently, by 2021, we don't have any unsafe area anymore. So we still have only the unplanned area, which represent almost 70% of Cairo, for example. So what's happening by the government, for example, they are trying to upgrade the services, or through the government or through other international agency, for example. But what we mentioned in the charter, or what we try to tackle, that that there is the challenge of having new smart cities like the new capital will put a pressure on the existing as well, because actually they will try to reach it, and they will try to have the same condition of life. How can we put them in the same scale? That is the issue. It will be hard to put them in the same scale of the social and environmental justice and equity. But we raised that in the charter, that we need to at least to have this urban AI inclusive, that we need to not to put anyone away. All of the people should be in the same circle. They through the digital illiteracy, and through the campaign, different campaign, to make no one left behind. I hope that I answered your question as far as I understood you. Thank you.
we have another question from Dylan, who is asking, is there a way you want to take on the scarcity of fresh water?
Okay, this is it's not my specialty to talk about this issue actually, because I am from urban planning background. We need to have any other colleague from water resources. Yes, we have now, I will talk only from a research perspective, that currently the government really encouraging the academic sector to work in research project related to the water treatment, the water saving, the smart water irrigation. How can we have this smart techniques for irrigation and urban agriculture and smart water treatment systems? This is from the research perspective, but of course I'm not the specialist to talk about this issue. And
also, I was maybe to extend the Dylan question, but in another direction, because you talked about environmental justice, and how could AI, or at least data, be used to achieve this justice?
Minna, you would like to answer this?
So what was the question, please?
You know, in your presentation, you talked about environmental justice, and I was wondering, how could we use data or even AI to achieve this justice?
So I don't have a specific answer, but this is what the whole project is about, to look at how AI can build more environmental friendly cities. Part of it is in relation to climate resilience, or thinking, for example, about gamification or the use of AI to not only spread awareness, but also to create more sustainable systems, which can be integrated, for example, in mobility companies. But an exact answer, I don't have an exact technical answer for it, but it's one of the points that we tackle heavily with our partners from different sectors, mobility, health, and so on. But Dr. Samah, would you like to add something?
Yeah. I can give you one example. We have many mobile applications in Cairo, and one of them is recording, for example, the harassment for girls. For example, it's really one of the a girl who made this initiative and made this mobile app. So what we were discussing with our colleagues in the previous workshops, that what about having this mobile app or even this tool to enable people to know where they can go out? Where is, how can they access that? If there is a green area outside there, because when I say in my presentation that in some districts, the share of the open spaces or green area is 0.5 by per capita, and in other districts it's less than this. So if I have this tool to tell me if there is a nearby open space, green area that I can enter, how much is the fees? We don't have this accumulative information that can be easy accessed by people, that they can know the information easily by one click on their mobile, for example. So we are not advocating that we will make the social justice, but at least making the information available for all. So if it can be through the urban AI, the different mobile application, then people can feel that they can enter there, because actually part of the problem that maybe the data is not knowing, maybe people are not knowing where they can. We can talk about many other issues. If we talk about the CO2 emission, for example, as you know, Cairo is ranked one of the high populated areas in the center of the heating by the WHO, for example. So if there is also a tool or something enable people to know where they can go, which area is more safer in terms of the pollutants and the air pollutants. So we are talking about a comprehensive approach for people, accessible by all, inclusive by all, no no people are left behind. Even people in informal area or in unplanned area are able to reach this information. So that reaches us to another point, is the availability of data. We have data, of course, we have a lot of data, but how we can really make use of those data, how we can deploy this data to get what we need to help people from one hand, and to help the planner and social experts and all of this, to build what we call the better cities for people.
Thank you, Samah. I think we have a question from Georgie. Yes, if you want, feel free to open your micro, Georgie.
Yeah.
Samah and Mena, I was working in Colombia for a plan to overcome the pandemic in healthcare, education, and food supply. How your plans of COVID-19 pandemic were affected by the sickness? How can you overcome the pandemic in El Cairo?
Okay. You are mean in terms of the life of the people, or in the urban planning?
In terms of the impact of the pandemic to your plans.
Okay, so so actually we had the two. We had some impacts, of course. I will talk about the direct impact of the project. The direct impact of the project in the Cairo Charter, that we shift many sessions to be online, for example, and we didn't, they didn't meet together. We met after the project. We met all of us last month. So this is direct impact, and we really extended a little bit the project, because having the lockdown and the pandemic situation really postponed some of our plans. This is from one hand. From another hand, talking about Cairo, actually, we had only one lockdown in the early COVID. So now we don't have any lockdown. We are opening everything for people. The universities are totally on campus. We don't have the situation of locking down now. But actually, we are intensively checking the vaccination for people. So no one is allowed to enter the campus without having the vaccination. No one is allowed to enter the governmental buildings, to attend the meetings, to go to even the airport. So to have anything inside the city, you should be vaccinated. So there is a push for people to get vaccinated, especially from 16 years old. And actually, talking about what COVID-19 happened, affected to the people, yes, it has a great impact in everything. It has an impact even when we now talking about the series of urban planning and how the principles, we talk about now the social distance. We talk about how we design a healthy city, more healthy city. So even after the pandemic, we changed our curriculum to talk about more about the COVID-19 and how it really impacts the city. We now, even in the architecture studios, for example, we are thinking of having these co-working spaces inside the buildings to allow people to work online in a safe way. So even in the scale of the building, the scale of the neighborhood, the scale of the district, there is different impacts of COVID-19. And I think many papers and I already published 2 papers about this, the impact of COVID-19 on open spaces, and many other colleagues talked about this, because it's really, I call it the era before COVID-19, and there is another era after COVID-19. And from my point of view, and I talked in one of my papers about this, that really COVID-19 in the Egyptian perspective really accelerated the digitalization movement. Now, after COVID-19, we didn't get use of the online shopping, having everything online. After COVID-19, I can say it's a paradigm shift. I now having everything online, for example. Even I can go now by my car and or by any transportation to get it. But now, khalas, I get used that I can have everything through my mobile phone. So I can order my food, I can order the cooked food, I can make the laundry, I can bring the Uber. So there is a huge business huge business, huge economic change happened to the Egyptian context, not only in rich area or planned area, but in the whole community. People now are using the social network to sell their product, to have as an e-market for them. If they are not owning a website, they can sell everything through the websites. And it's really it's growing very well now in all sectors. There is a huge change in the education. I will talk about my faculty, for example. We didn't face, I'm already teaching in Faculty of Engineering in Shams University, and actually we started this digitalization, alhamdulillah, from 5 years ago. So we were really equipped when that happened, the lockdown happened. We didn't face many problems because we really started having all the digital platforms from the beginning. We didn't have any problems, but the problems began when we started recording recording our lectures, for example. No one trained us. It's really and it needs some effort. That's why when we applied in this new project, me and Menna, we thought about, yes, we need to have this MOOC factory, because actually it will not, we don't know the future, what will happen. So I told you it's an era after COVID-19, so we need many MOOCs. So we will start with this Urban AI new project, MOOC for Urban AI, and we are planned in the lab, for example, to have other MOOCs for other courses, not only for academics, but for specialists, for any other one who would like to get a certificate in certain area. So I can't keep talking forever, because actually COVID-19 really changed our life. We are not the same, even personal, from urban design, urban planning perspective, from social, from environmental. I can tell you something, and it's really emphasized what we are saying in the charter, that we need environmental justice. I noticed people now, when the lockdown happened, people started to explore their districts, walk around, take the bike, and have some walk away around them. So they start to talk together. They start to see their neighbors for the first time, for example, in some areas. So there's a huge changes, and I think it's a common in everywhere. Okay.
Thanks, Samah. And it's interesting what you just said, because it also explains, why the concept of 15-minute city is so successful around the world. We have maybe a last question from Maria, who is asking, what about the society? How they will agree about this project, or how they react about this project? And I think it's a very good question, because we saw also in Asia, like some smart cities, that new cities built from scratch that actually became ghost cities because people were not involved in the project.
Menna, would you like to answer? I feel that I'm answering everything.
Please go on. Yes. I will add if I find something to
okay, very good. So actually comparing what Asia countries did in smart cities, I know that some of them are ghost cities now, but I can say that the situation in Egypt is different a little bit, because we have this high population. And we have also the culture of people to moving from area to another if they can find better living conditions and better opportunities. And this I can give you a small brief of the history of cities, of new cities in Cairo. Actually, as I told you in the presentation, it started by the 1970 to have this first generation of cities. But the problem from the government that they didn't take into consideration the transportation, for example. They didn't plan a way or incentives for people to move. And I think all of us learned the lesson. Now the new capital city is really connected, well connected through roads, through monorail, through high-speed train. So this is really made people, when I'm thinking of moving to new capital city, I feel comfort, because I see that there is a good transportation system that connects this new capital with the existing agglomeration. But previously, it was like that you are taking a risk to move from your existing home to another home. This is from one point. From another point, the government really put huge investment to attract people to move. So, for example, most of the governmental ministries will be there, the embassies. We will have we already opened there some international universities there. It's already working. My university, for example, will have the National University of Ain Shams University will open in almost in 12 months or something. We already, and a good news that we will have there for the first time a program for smart cities for undergrad, for example. I think that the government will in this issue is really high. They really want people to move. They really want this capital to work. So they put all the potential to make it succeed. We have there an airport. We have all the facilities for the people, from the health, from the commercial, from the everything. In sometimes you can feel that it will be the Raqqa Utopia city. Everything is there. The green river, the green areas, and everything. I'm not afraid of this. What I'm afraid is the social cohesion between all the people and this social justice. It will be the same because actually we are feeling this right now. When you are living in new city, I'm living in one of this new city, New Cairo city. It's very adjacent to the capital. So I have a new open area. I have a wide streets and it's different than you are living in the existing city. So what we were really thinking of that we have and I think we really invent this terminology, the semi-smart city. The main smart cities in Africa and Egypt can call them totally they are smart. They are semi-smart because actually they are planned and unplanned area together. They are just with some areas with no services. That's it. That's my answer for if I see that it will be a ghost city. No, it will not be a ghost city, and we can see in the future. For example, New Cairo city where I live, people say that no one will move. Now we are having overflies and bridges because of the traffic. People are it's really overpopulated in some area. So I expect that it will work in a good way in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Samah and Mennatullah, for taking this time to answer those questions, also for your very insightful presentation. So this is already the end of this Urban AI conversation. You have in the chat the link to register for our next Urban AI conversation that will be next week. It will be about data governance, and this time our experts will be based in North America, so New York and Montreal. It was a real pleasure to have you, Samah and Mennatullah, for this actually first Urban AI conversation of 2022. Thanks also everyone for attending this session, and see you tomorrow, next week, sorry. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Hubert, and forward to another meeting. Yeah. Thanks everyone for attending.